and Dwayne Wade right at the body of Anderson Varejao. Welcome to your Kodak moment, Anderson Varejao. Curry way down top. Bang! Bang! Oh, what a shot from Curry!
Moving on, the Raptors. The Raptors, which everyone expected them to have a big fall off, but so far so good.
Yeah, so far so good for the Raptors. They're
Spicy MVP.
spicy MVP. They're 4-2.
They're just a well-coached, well-run organization.
Yeah.
And there's a lot to be said about that when, you look at the bottom of the standings, you see a lot of teams that don't really have that.
Yeah. Yeah.
The Hornets being the surprise of the year so far.
I would definitely have to say the Hornets are surprised. I mean, they are 4-3, so it's not.
It's not anything insane, but still, people thought it would take them 20 games to win 3.
Yeah. They are on a 3-game win streak.
Yeah. Devontae Graham has been showing out.
Yeah.
I really liked him in the draft 2 years ago as a mid-second round pick, but I didn't really expect him to pop off after the rookie year he had, which wasn't anything great.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
Yeah. Yeah. So the Hawks are going to be interesting now.
Well, Ice Trae is coming back. Trae Young.
That's true, but
Trae Young is back. He looked great against the Spurs.
he did look great against.
However, John Collins is going to be out for 25 games.
Which sucks.
Yeah.
For the Hawks.
Yeah.
Obviously they're going to miss They're going to miss what John Collins brings on both offense and defense. But and they're the 7th seed. They're 3-3.
The only good thing this could bring is that you finally get to see what Bruno Fernando is. Mm-hmm. They took him early to mid-second round this past draft, and their biggest position of need was center, and they didn't address it in the draft beyond that. But now you finally get to see what he is, and to see whether he's the type of player that can play next to John Collins.
Yeah,
25 games is a hell of a sample size.
Yeah.
And also, you have DeAndre Hunter, who was expected to play the 3 or the 4, so now you get to see if he can be your new Draymond at the 4. I mean, they have the pieces to fill in for it, but it's still a huge loss. Mm-hmm. You could argue that John Collins was that team's best player so far this year. It's probably Trae Young, but he was putting up numbers, and he's huge to what they do as a pick and roll threat. And he's shown that he's added the 3-point touch, so he's going to be a huge loss for them. Do I think they're going to fall way off? Not really.
Yeah.
But do I think they might fall out of playoff contention? A little bit.
Yeah.
They're not going to end up with a top 5 pick, but
no.
You could see that after these 25 games, they're out of a playoff spot by like 4 or 5 games.
Yeah.
Which is a lot to try and recover from.
Yeah. That's so that's really what's going on in the East in terms of surprises. And
you really want to avoid the Knicks?
Yeah, I don't want to talk about the Knicks. I think, I don't know, I just...
Quickly, a big team you could see to make a lot of moves this year are the Orlando Magic. They have no type of offense right now. Their defense is fine, but their offense is the worst in the league, and by a wide margin.
Yeah.
Aaron Gordon could be on the move. He's a player that a lot of teams have had interest in. Mo Bamba continues to show that he was probably more of a project in the way that Hasheem Thabeet ended up being a bust, because he just hasn't done anything, and you could see him getting moved soon. And they also just have way too many big men and not nearly enough guards. Why they went for Al-Farouq Aminu this offseason, I have no clue. But it's a big issue. They don't have any guards. A trade that makes a lot of sense is the Magic going after Bogdan Bogdanovic of the Sacramento Kings. In a contract dispute, restricted free agent this next year. Kings probably aren't going to keep him. Mm-hmm. The Magic would look to cash in on that, get a player that, from a team that doesn't want to keep him, get a guard that would, increase the run of this core that they have right now. And, who knows? Maybe Fultz could end up being a big star. He's starting now.
Yeah, maybe.
But they have serious issues with trying to get points on the board. Yeah. So.
And also the Knicks, they just
suck.
They're gonna break through, I think. I hope.
This isn't even the hardest stretch of their.
I know.
They have like a 13-game stretch in which they play like great team after great team for 2 weeks, and the only time I could see them winning a game. They play the Spurs at home at one point during that 13-game stretch. I think it's from late November to early December. There's no way, they're probably going to go like 1-12.
Yeah.
And that's going to be a hard time to be a Knicks fan.
Last 5 years have been a hard time to be a Knicks fan.
It's always a hard time to be a Knicks fan.
They are playing tonight. They're playing the Pistons. That'll be a game that I will be watching.
Derrick Rose has looked great so far this year.
Derrick Rose has looked really good.
Which is, it's great to see. I mean, seeing a reborn Derrick Rose is so nice.
No matter what team you're a fan of, everyone's rooting for Derrick
Everyone
Rose.
loves D-Rose.
To the West, the Lakers, after going 0-1, are now 6-0.
I don't understand how their supporting cast is working, but it's working so well.
It is working very well.
I don't think it's sustainable. I don't think Dwight Howard will continue to be this absolute monster off the bench. And I certainly don't trust Avery Bradley. I think with Kuzma trying to get reintegrated, they're going to fall off a little. Probably won't be like that long term. They won't stay bad, obviously. But if that bench unit keeps playing like that, and that bench unit plays like that in the playoffs, I think we could have a new championship favorite.
Yeah.
That's how good they've been.
And I think, so you got 1 through 8, just quickly, the Lakers, Nuggets, Suns, Clippers, Mavericks, T-Wolves, Rockets, and Jazz. I think, maybe not in that order, but I think I think we're looking at the playoffs.
I mean, I think the Blazers get in there. That's something I'd count on.
So
I
think Blazers and
the
Jazz.
Suns fall out and the Blazers get back in.
Really?
Other than that, I think that is the playoffs.
Those
are the teams in the playoffs.
Yeah, which, no real surprises. Golden State, I don't think we're talking about. Golden State is now...
They had a 6-game curse where it was KD tears his Achilles, Klay Thompson tears ACL, lose championships, lose season opener, win 1 game against the Pelicans, and then Steph breaks his hand against the Suns.
Yep.
Over a 6-game stretch, over 2 seasons. Everything has gone wrong for them. Draymond Green also has torn ligaments in his finger. Apparently, there is no way D'Angelo Russell is on this team next year.
None at all.
Which, I mean, people had predicted. And he, as I said before, they're going to have to sell him at his lowest point.
Yeah.
Because there's nothing else they can do. I mean, they don't want to win games this year.
Mm-hmm.
They want James Wiseman, the 7'1" center out of, Memphis, I think.
I think so, yeah.
And they want him, and I mean, it makes sense. Center is arguably their weakest position.
Yeah.
And if they could get someone like Robert Covington back in a trade like that, they'd love it.
Yeah, the Warriors are not going to be good.
Yep.
For a while. And, I mean, Draymond Green...
Well, for a while. I mean, this year. I think this year is a reloading year, just like what they did with Kobe and the Lakers.
Yeah. I think Draymond Green summed it up pretty well. He said they've spent, the bulk of the last 5 years beating up on everyone. So now it's time for them to get beat up on. We saw the Spurs.
However, Eric Pascal has been a great development for them.
Yeah, but
it looks like empty stats, but even then he put up 39 and 16 against the Blazers in a game that they won. Mm-hmm. So,
yeah.
He's very similar to Draymond as well.
He is very similar to Draymond.
Moving on, the Nuggets,
Nuggets are just doing what Nuggets do.
Yeah. They've had a lot of issues with their starting lineup, especially with their starting small forward. With Will Barton on the floor, they're like a good team. I think it's plus 12 net rating with Torrey Craig at the 3 and the rest of their starting lineup staying the same. They're like a minus 17.
Yeah.
So they need to figure out that position ASAP. Other than that, they're looking decent. A lot of people were blaming their home court advantage, where they literally have a home court advantage because they practice with, the higher altitude and all that.
Yeah.
For last year's success, but I'm a big believer in the Nuggets. I think they're still going to have a great year. Yeah.
Yeah. So we'll see the Rockets. Let's look at this, because this is...
The Rockets might end up being one of the most prolific offenses of all time, but they have no defense.
Yeah.
Whatsoever.
Speaking of no defense...
You talking about the 159-157 game or whatever it was?
Yeah. So the Heat... Listen to this. So the Rockets on Sunday were down Where is this?
Recap. Nope.
Matchup.
There we go.
At the end of the first quarter on Sunday against the Heat, the score was
46 to
Heat
14.
46, Rockets 14.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
ridiculous.
And then they lost
They
by
they ended up losing by
29.
29 points.
And the crazy thing is that they outscored the Heat in the
They
in
outscored the Heat in the second quarter.
by like a decent margin
Yeah,
by
by
7 points.
But then got outscored by 3 and then outscored by 1.
Yeah.
So it was,
And then there's the crazy game against the Wizards.
yeah.
So they can put up points. They just can't stop anyone else from putting up points,
Yeah, so it's like it's literally who scores more
which is a
points.
huge issue for a team that's trying to be a contender.
Yeah, and then they beat the Grizzlies on Monday.
Harden with 44.
Yeah. And 10 rebounds. And 10 rebounds.